Hello everybody, it's Non-Scene News here, and today we've got a lot of breaking updates today. So first, let's just get started with the current situation that's coming from Tehran once again. So in Tehran, the funeral was held of Ismail, the political leader of Hamas, who actually died a couple of days ago now. So a funeral was held in Tehran where thousands of civilians at the University of Tehran participated. If you can see here in your bottom left corner, huge crowds that participated in this. Even the Iranian supreme leader actually came to the funeral and actually performed prayers over the body, the coffin. So very interesting. But at the end, his coffin, the body of Ismail, was actually transported to Qatar, where he'll possibly, most likely, be buried in Qatar, and another funeral might take place here. So very interesting. The president of Turkey, Erdogan, has stated that tomorrow there will be an official day of mourning in Turkey due to the death of Ismail, the political leader of Hamas, to support the Palestinians. The next news is coming from Hezbollah. So, in the previous night, we can see here in your bottom left corner, Hezbollah launched a huge missile strike on Israel for the first time in 2 days. So, these missile strikes were targeted in the border between Hezbollah and Israel. So, I've actually marked here in your bottom left, in the screen here. So, they targeted this region in Israel. So, it's on the border. So we still haven't gotten the full picture of the results of this attack, so maybe tomorrow we'll get the pictures of the results of the attacks and what the Hezbollah actually targeted, or even what they actually hit. So very interesting. But as a direct result of this, the British military bases in Cyprus are now on full alert ahead of an expected major war in the Middle East. So the British military bases in Cyprus have put themselves on full alert due to this attack and due to an expected major war in the Middle East. And the US has stated that it has now put Lebanon on level 4. So what do I mean by that? So the US has raised the travel warning to Lebanon. It was level 3 and now it's level 4. So level 3 is reconsider travel to the country and level 4 is do not travel. So now Lebanon is on level 4. So very interesting. Now we got news coming from the Sudanese president that there's been reports that the Sudanese president actually survived assassination attempt. So this assassination attempt actually involved drones. So apparently he was targeted with FPV drones. So it's unknown how this drone actually failed to reach its target, or we don't know, but right now we know that there was an assassination attempt on the Sudanese president and he survived. And the Sudanese government actually did release a map on the current situation in Sudan. So you can see here in your bottom left corner, you can see the Sudanese armed control areas. You can also see the rebels controlled area. So you can see the Sudanese armed forces are in red, the rebels are in green. So very interesting. So it seems that there's still a huge force in Sudan. So very interesting. The Mali authorities in Mali have reported that more than 1,100 recruits have been trained by Russian military instructors. So very interesting. So 1,100 recruits have joined the Malian armed forces, and these were trained by Russian military instructors. So very interesting. And most of these instructors did see action in Ukraine, so they'll be very experienced. The next news is coming from Turkey, well, more specifically the port of Istanbul. So the Ukrainian Navy has just received a Turkish-built class corvette. So you can see here in your bottom left corner. So this was a ship that was built by Turkey and now has joined the Ukrainian Navy. So it was launched in Istanbul in Turkey. So this is Ukraine's first ADA class corvette, and this ship is expected to be the flagship of the new Ukrainian Navy. So the Ukrainian Navy has received this ship now, and it's expected to be the new flagship of the Ukrainian Navy. The next news coming today is coming from test sites in Turkey. So if you can see here in bottom left corner, tests of the Turkish 155 self-propelled howitzers, the Gorhan, was being tested. So if you can see here in bottom left corner, this is a new howitzer that's probably going to be passed into the Turkish army if it passes all tests. So possibly a new Turkish howitzer entering the battlefield. And the biggest news today is that Russia and the West have conducted a huge prisoner swap, well, exchange, the better word would be. So there's been a huge prisoner exchange between Russia and the West, and this is the biggest prisoner exchange between Russia and the West since the Cold War era took place earlier on Thursday, with 24 people released in total. The US has confirmed. The White House said that 16 prisoners have been freed, and now they're on their way back to Europe and the US. So the Russian Federation has released videos demonstrating the foreign prisoner exchanges in Annika. So if you can see here in the bottom left corner, they're putting them in buses ready to go to NATO countries. What 8 Russians who were detained and imprisoned in NATO countries have now returned to their homeland, and we've actually got footage of their landing in Moscow. So you can see here in the bottom left corner, the people who were imprisoned in NATO were returned in Moscow. So if you can see here in the bottom left corner, Putin actually greeted them himself. So if you can see here, he handshakes them all, and very interesting. So all these prisoners who were imprisoned will receive state rewards. So very interesting. We've also got news coming from Moscow that Russia plans to raise the issue of Western F-16 aircraft supplies to Ukraine at the UN meeting in Council in August. And the next news is coming from Viktor Orban. So Viktor Orban, the Prime Minister of Hungary. Viktor Orban claims that the US is behind the Nord Stream attack. So very interesting, he stated that the US was behind the Nord Stream attack that took place early in the war of the Ukraine and Russian war. So very interesting. So we've got news coming from the Prime Minister Keir Starmer of the United Kingdom. So the Prime Minister Keir Starmer has issued statements of rising levels of violence in the UK. So he stated, these thugs are mobile. They move from community to community, and we must have a policing force that can do the same. Shared intelligence and wider deployment of facial recognition technology are necessary, the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom stated. So pretty big statements, so we could probably expect more technology, more cameras, and more, apparently to him, quote unquote, facial recognition technology are necessary. So very interesting. And we got one more news coming from the United Kingdom, that the highest paid BBC reporter pleads guilty to being of possession of child pornography. So Edwards has plead guilty of having child pornography. He faces up to 10 years in prison. The BBC reporter was paid at least £475,000 a year. So if you can see here, bottom left corner, this is the man that was sent to prison. So he's now going to face 10 years in prison. We've got some news coming from Biden's statements. So he was talking about the prisoner swap with Russia and the West. So one of the reporters actually asked him that, will you talk to Putin, like to face? And he stated that he doesn't need to speak with Putin. So I'll just show you the video here.
Years, man.
Did you ever speak directly with Vladimir Putin about this, or would you be willing to speak with Putin now directly?
I don't need to speak with Putin.
So he stated he doesn't need to speak with Putin, so I'll keep you updated on the situation in the US. We've got news coming from Venezuela, that apparently coming from the Venezuelan government, that the protests and riots are calming down, and no big riots and no fights with police. So apparently all the protests in Venezuela during the elections have actually calmed down now, and the riots have calmed down. We've got news coming from China and India, that China and India has agreed to speed up the border negotiations at the 30th round of talks. So China and India are going to be discussing the Himalaya border dispute of China and India. So they hope that this will find a solution of the outstanding issues. So we can probably expect, or let's hope, they find a border solution to this. So maybe pretty soon the Indian and Chinese border conflict would be over. Now let's go into China, where the People's Liberation Army Marine Corps have just unveiled a bird-like drone with flapping wings. So if you can see here in bottom left corner, the People's Liberation Army, China, has just shown us a drone just like a bird. So we could probably expect more drones like this around the world to take place. So very interesting, and who knows, this might be the future. We got news coming from Indonesia. Then the Indonesian defense minister has visited the Russian capital in Moscow, and he met with Vladimir Putin. He actually stated that Indonesia considers Russia a great friend and would like to continue developing relations with Putin and Russia. And the last news coming today is coming from Kim Jong-un and North Korea. So Kim Jong-un actually inspects the country's flood damages. So he actually takes a boat through the flooded streets and stuff. So there's been a huge flood in north of Korea. So north of North Korea. So this was caused by heavy rains caused by the chaos in the west of Korea. So pretty interesting, and South Korea has actually offered support to help North Korea with supplies and stuff to help North Korea deal with this situation. And the next things are coming from things that I didn't have time to add to the map. So if you can see here in bottom left corner, this was the loading of an Iskander missile with a nuclear warhead into a launcher. So this is during the Russian tactical missile exercises to check the readiness of the tactical nuclear forces. So this is an actual live tactical nuclear weapon that was put into this system during the Russian tactical missile exercises and / drills. So very interesting. And we've got news coming from Kuwait that Kuwait announces that its military bases have never and will never be used by any foreign power to launch a strike against brotherly country like the Islamic Republic of Iran. So that's all the news I actually have for you today. So I'm Nonce News. I'll try and provide you news that the medias around the world do not show you. I do these videos hopefully daily, so consider subscribing and liking. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you all later. Bye.